Hello everyone, welcome to the Mercury Virtual. Hope you are doing good. Today I am going to continue with your same module, that is a web application development, and the same new session, that is session number 4. In the last class I have finished with the session number 3, that is the market research. So how to do the market research, what are the various concepts that is used in the market research. Today I'm going to continue with the session number 4. So let's start with the previous class session what we have covered in the last class, then move to the today's topic, that is session number 4. So in the last class we have started with this market research example that is denoted by the HTML, and that HTML code will be replaced by the CFM code, that is the Cold Fusion Markup Language. This is the CF code that we have discussed in the last class. There is a if loop that is selected, the selected number is equals to 1, then give the location URL as the form.cfm, and this is the category of the form.cfm. This is the form number 1 that is defined over here. So this is the form number 1 coding that is displayed with the help of the this CF, that is a Cold Fusion Markup Language. So this is defined as a form 1. Then CF is if defined cookie.user ID, that is the cookie.user ID is defined, that is equals to 0. Then set the cookie name or give the cookie name, that is the CF, that is equals to the user ID, then value equals to now, then expires equals to 15. Then CF if, that is a Cold Fusion if, then there is a H2 that is displayed in the H2, which is displayed like this one, that is the preferences for product, that is preferences for product. Good day Larry. Then it is used for this is as it is marker for this one, that is thank you for visiting this one. Then please mark, there are two radio buttons that is displayed with the help of this one, right? So this is defined in the last class, that is the how to create the CF forms and how to use the CF, that is the Cold Fusion Markup Language, for displaying the markup languages, right? Then this is the next one, that is defined your email address and so on. This is the form number 3 that is defined over here, that is a form number 3, that is a thank you for visiting the page and expressing your opinion. Now then defined with the save2.cfm, then your name, then email address, then input type, that is defined over here. So then next part is the session number 4 that I am going to start in the today's class, that is the web database for opinion poll, that is how to make the web databases, or how to make the database that is available on the web for the opinion polls. So first of all, what is a file and what is a database? So this says in session number 3 we use the tag cf file, which permits storing and retrieving of files. So if I want to use the files, that is defined by the cf file, that is a Cold Fusion file that permits storing and retrieval of files on the disk when needed. So whenever it is needed, it retrieves or stores and retrieves the files on the disk whenever it is required. However, the files created by the cf files can only be written, appended, read or deleted. So it is only written whenever we are using the CF files, it can only be written, appended, read or deleted the files. If any operations on the individual operation or individual record, such as a conditional modification or retrieval of the records are needed, the file has to read into the memory before it can process and then read it. And that means if there is any CF file that have to be written, appended, read or deleted, so it is modified with the conditional modifications or the retrieval of the records. So the files had to be read into the memory before it can be processed and then rewritten. Then modern databases can store complex collection of data, and flexible methods for inserting and retrieving data exist. So whatever the data that is available for inserting and retrieving the data that exists in the profile. So that is used for the flexible method for inserting and retrieving the data that exists, that is required by the CF file, that can only be written, appended, read or deleted, right? Then that means whenever we are going to use the files in the Cold Fusion, that is defined by the CF file, that permits the storing and retrieving of files on the disk whenever it is required. Then next is the databases, how to use the databases or how to maintain the databases. Now what is a database? So whenever we collect the files, or whenever we collect the related information in a file, and when we collect the file, that is known as the databases. This is not a course in databases, but databases are frequently needed in connection with the web. So this is not a course in the database, but a database are generally used in connection with the web. So that is not, this is not the chapter that is related, or this is not the module that is related to the DBMS, that is a database management system. No, but this database is required in connection with the web application. So whenever I'm doing any application, I'm doing any processing with the web, that is done by the database. Then we shall limit our discussion in this session to how and establish the database to serve. Larry, your question is how to mean the database, how to use the CF file. So this is defined, that is the web application is defined by means of the SQL language that is included in the CFML. So whenever I want to use the databases, so I have to use the SQL language that is defined within the CFML, that is a cold fusion markup language. Then an established database includes one or more named tables. So that is established language that is defined in one or more tables, and each table has one or more named columns and zero or more identifier rows with the column data. So whatever the data, or whenever the data is required, or the table is required, that has a more or one or more named columns and zeros and identified rows with the column data. That means it is defined with the column data, that is defined with the databases. The connection between a web applications and the database we shall use in is through Java database connectivity. So whatever the connection that is defined between the web application and the database, that is used in the Java database connectivity, that is a JDBC driver. So that is defined with the Java database connectivity drivers, that is defined by the JDBC drivers, that permits you to, or that permits the integration and the updating of the database by means of the SQL statement. So we are using the SQL statement, and we are using the Java database connectivity, that is the JDBC, and in some cases the JDBC driver will also have to cooperate behind the scenes with the ODBC. That means we have already discussed about the ODBC and the JDBC. So in this CFML, two concepts are used. These two concepts, that is the JDBC and the ODBC, that is the Java database connectivity and the open database connectivity. Databases which can be used as a backend to the cold fusion applications are limited to those for which adequate driver exists for the operation system hardware platform use. So whenever we are using the hardware platform, whenever we are using the database system, that is used as a backend to the cold fusion applications. And for Windows XP 2000, on which this course is based, drivers for MS Access, Excel, MySQL, SQL Server, and few other are included. So whenever we are using the databases, whenever we are using the courses on this one, that is course is defined, so drivers for the MS Access, Excel, SQL, SQL Server are also included in this one. Then drivers that is developed by other also exist, however, for a number of other databases application. And most efficient driver that is used are the DB2, that is the database 2, then Informix, then Oracle Sysbase, and also available from the Macromedia, that is used in connection with the CFMX enterprise version. And in this course we are using the MS Access database, not the SQL, but we are using the MS Access database, and the database used has no significance for the functionality discussed. And the MySQL database can be downloaded free and an excellent alternative. So either you can use the MyExcel, MySQL, or either you can use the MyAccess database for making the connections with the JDBC, for making the connection with the SCFML, that is a cold fusion markup language. An installed and a specified database must be named as a data source and registered with the CFM administrator as a accessible database. So whenever it is using the accessible database, that is used with the CFM administrator, that is used with the, that is also known as the CFMX. And if you use another web server, it is the same without the port number or without the port address, that is the 8500. The next topic is the CFMX SQL, that is how to use the CFMX SQL. These are the various SQL elements that is we have defined already. This is also the example, that is how to use the SQL. Then this is a select statement. So this is what you want, Larry, right? Larry, this is your requirement. You said to me that how to use the connectivity with the database. So this is the answer that's given with this one. So Cold Fusion opens for interaction with the database by means of the special pair of tags. So that means whenever we are using the CFMX, that is a Cold Fusion markup language that is used with the SQL, that is a CFMX administrator that is used with this one. That is defined with a CF query. So this is used for the database by means of the special pair of tags. What is the pair of tag that is defined? That is a CF query opening, and there is a closing of the CF query between which the SQL statements are inserted. So whenever I want to connect with the database, the starting part is the CF query and the closing part is the closing of the. Okay, your problem is the data source which you want to connect. So you have to give this data source about this one. You have to write this line as the first line. All right. Okay, Larry, tell me. No, no, no. You link. You wrote this data source like this one. So what is the error? Oh, a- and you have written this one, that is CF query name, the same line. Okay. 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 So first of all, read this, then let me check. Okay. So this is a CF query, that is name equals to my query, then data source equals to data source or the session dot data source, that is the hash. Then there are multiple SQL statement that is written over here, that is written in the CF query. Then there is a closing of the CF query. Now the name is a useful reference to the output from a database transaction if needed in another places of the current or other template. So the name that is given is a useful reference. So whenever it is given as a useful reference, that is a name that is given with the reference to the output if it is needed in the place of other template. So we shall see examples later on. The only requirement is that the unique name is chosen. So that is the data source that is available in this one. So it is using the data source with a SQL statement. So the data source parameter, that is the next line, that is the data source parameter specifies which database is relevant, and in our course, okay, let me check, Larry. The data source parameter is used specify, that is used with this one. That is the data source parameter specifies which database is used relevant. In our course, the name is the DB, which implements or which implies the CS set relevant data source equals to DB. So that is defined, that is known as the database. That is the CF set, then session dot data source equals to DB. So that is defined as a CF set, that is we are setting the data source, that is session dot or so that is the CF set session dot data source equals to DB, that must be set usually as a part of the application dot CFM templates. Now, what are the various SQL commands that is written in the CF sets? That is written in the CF set, that is defined in the CF set. So there are 4 SQL statements that is defined in this one. I'm just coming within 2 minutes. So these are the 4 SQL statement that is used in this one. So there are 4 SQL statement that is defined within the CF query, that is defined in this syntax. Now, what are the four SQL statements that is discussed? Now, we shall discuss application of each type in detail. That is, we are going to discuss each type in detail because these are the one of the important part in the CFML. Because without connecting with the database, there is no we can say there is no motto for doing this one. So one of the mandatory thing is that we have to make the connection with the database, and connection will be maintained with these four SQL statements, that is a select, insert, update, delete. So these are the four SQL statements that must be used as a SQL statement. Within each statement, a number of clauses can be specified, of which some are restricted to use with only one or two of the SQL commands. That is defined with one of the two of the SQL command, that is defined as a SQL or as a clause that can be specified with the SQL command. The list of the most commonly SQL clauses in alphabetically is given. So this is the statements, and within these statements, these are the various clauses. As we have discussed already in the website application or the database application, there is a from clause. That is from means from which table I want to take the data. That is grouped by. That means grouping is performed. We have to group the within the table. That is a group by clause is discussed or is used. Then there is a having. That means making the connection or making the condition or having the condition, that is defined by the having clause. Then there is a into clause, then there is a join clause, then there is a into, then join, then order by, then set, values, where, unions. These are the various we can say the clauses that is defined or that is used with the four SQL statement, that is a select, insert, delete, update. So these are the four SQL statement that is used. Insert means select means whenever I want to select the specified columns, or we can say the multiple columns, we can say the entire table, that is defined by the select. Then if I want to insert any rows, any column, that is defined by the insert statement. Then update means updating means we can say the change the width, change the height, change the tuple, or we can say the column. Then delete means deleting the entire row, the entire column. Now, for the construction of compound statement, that is a more than one statement, SQL also provides a large number of operators. So if I want to define or if I want to use more than one compound statement that is defined, so SQL provides a large number of operators, that is equals to. So this is the equals to operator that is also used as a compound. Then there is a not equals to, then less than, then greater than, then less than equals to, then greater than equals to, then there is a plus statement, minus, divide, multiplied, and or not. So these are the logical conditions. And is used when both the conditions are true, and or is used when either one of the condition must be true, that is one or both the condition must be true. Not means ignores a condition, that is opposite of the and. Then is not null, that is value is not null. Then in, that is value is defined or value is finding out within a list. Then there is a between, that is value is in the range between two values, that is a between clause. Then like, so that is used with the percentage sign or the underscore sign. Then exists, so test for a non-empty set. And in addition to the database source name or data source name, you must also know the name of the table, columns, and the rows from which you want to retrieve the data. So if you want to retrieve the data, that is the data source name, so you have to define the name of the table, you have to remember the name of the table, you have to remember the table name, columns, rows of the table. And the row specification will be discussed in the next session. Now, next is the opinion polling. That is also one of the important part, because the chapter name is the or the session name is the web databases for the opinion polls. Now, what is the meaning of the polling of the opinions or the opinion polls? A polling institute is the scenario for the service we shall use to explain the SQL statement. The institute, so this institute, that is the opinion polling institute, investigate the changing opinions among the 5 competing brands of a certain commodity, and the organization using a rating or using a rotating panel, so it using a rotating panel of voters who are interviewed about their preferences each week. That means it is going to interview the opinions of the or take the opinions of the persons each week or every week. The panel must include a certain number of voters to provide the significant result. So if the significant result is available, that is provided by the voters. For each voter, name, telephone number, age, home area is recorded for the establishment of the panel. So there is the establishment of the panel, that is defined with the voter name, that is defined with the significant result. Each Monday, the panel voters are interviewed about their opinions about the preferred alternative among the 5 competing products. If there are 5 products, the opinion will be taken out every Monday from the different persons, right? And for each interviewed panel voter, name, telephone number may also change as checked. The updating takes place on the Wednesday. That means Monday the opinion will be taken from different persons. Then on the Wednesday the updation will be made if there is any change among the person. Each Thursday statistics are generated from the records and made available, and each Friday fraction of the panel is substituted with the new voter. That means the new persons are arrived, so there is a panel with the new voter every Friday. Now this step will be carried out again and again within the polling. So this is the table that shows the opinion poll application. Now this is the table voters, that is the ID, then family name, then first name, then telephone, then age, then area, then vote. So these are the various options. That is the table of the voter, so that contains the information about the voter, that contains the ID, then family name, then first name, then telephone, then age, then area, then vote. And this is defined over here, that is insert text. This is a database table. No, this is not a database table. This is just an opinion that is carried out with the SQL statement. This will help to make the table. So this is insert data for individual, then telephone list for the interviewers, then updating the table, that is next part, then computing statistics, then rotating sample. So inserting the data for the individual, that is on Monday, then this is on the Wednesday, or telephone list for the interview, that is also on the Monday. Then on the Wednesday if there is any updation, this is on the Wednesday. Then after Wednesday, this is the Thursday and Friday. This is Thursday, this is Friday. In this session, we assume the DB data source has a specified table name voter. So this is assume the database source as a voters in this case. So that means the database that is required or that is specified in this example, that is known as the voters, that contains the information. For example, we can say that this is the example that is given in this one. This is given that the box at the left hand side, that is given at the left hand side. So this is given at the left hand side. This shows the column name. So this is the column, so the attribute that is defined in this one. A link to a complete demonstrator of the application is available at the end of the session. And as usual, the application starts with the application.cfm. So this is start with the application.cfm. So this is the application.cfm that is defined over here. And then this is the CF, then this is the application name that is equal to the database. So the application name that is given as a database, that is defined with the CF. So there is a CF, that is the confusion, then the application name, that is a database, then session management equals to yes. That means the application name is a database and the session management part is yes. Then session timeout, that is a create time span 30 minutes, that is a time or day, month, time or minutes, hours, something like this. Then this is the CF set, then session database DB. So this is the same as the application CFM. Now what is the name of the application? That is a database. Then what is the session management? Yes, there is a session management that is carried out for 30 minutes only, that is defined by the timeout. Then there is a CF set session database that is equals to the DB. In this application.cfm, the cookies used in the example of the last session are not needed, but a CF set tag for setting the session.data source variable is required. What's your query, Joseph? You want to see this practically? Okay, not an issue. I will do this queries or late on in tomorrow's class. Not an issue. But you have to attend the class on tomorrow. All right, not an issue. But a CF set tag for setting the session.data source variable has been added. Now this is the same as we defined in this one. Now this is the opinion poll that is defined. This is the opinion poll is initialized with this one. This is the application menu. This is defined with this one. Index.cfm. So this is used as an index.tfm like this one. And the same H2 code is used. Then there is a font color that is blue. Then this is the text that is written, that is the opinion poll. This is the opinion poll. Then this is the font, then H2, then the P, the opinion poll system is. So this is available as an opinion poll system is. Then there is a red initialized, there is a sample of voters each Monday. Then again the new word, that is a list of the panels membrane are defined, then updated. This is used with the H2 tag, or we can say the P tag, but there is a different tag that is defined with this font. Then there is a OL tag that is starting out, that is the ordered list is starting out, that is a OL. That means there are some part that is defined with the numbers, that is we have to make the list that is defined by the OL. Then there are LI, 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 LI. So there are 5 or 4, 6 listing that is defined in this one. That is defined in this one. So there are 4 or the 5 or 6 LIs that is defined in this one, that is the OL, LI, LI, LI. That means the listing is creating, that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the first listing is the LI, that is the AHREF equals to form.cff. That means the first word is the initialize, and there is a linking that is defined with this one, that is the initialize. A linking is defined, that is a text of the panel number that is defined over here. Then again the next one is the list.cfm. This is the list.cfm, that is the list panel members for the interviews. Then next is the retrieve.cfm. This is the retrieve part, that means the update part. Then there is a compute part, then there is a delete part. So these are the 5 parts that is defined over here, that is the initialize, then list, then update, then compute, then delete. Now next is the insert statement. So one is the statement that is we have discussed, that is the select statement, that is how to use with this one. Now next is how to use the insert statement. So it is not our concern to identify and recruit a representative. Yes, we have to start with the application.cfm template like this one. Application.cfm. So we have to give first of all this one, only this one. Then we only the database will be connected with session database DB. So it is not our concern to identify and recruit a representative panel of persons willing to serve on this panel. We simply assume that the required number of persons have been recruited. There are multiple persons that is recruited for this one. So this is just an example that is defined over here, and that have been collected about their names, telephone numbers, age and area in which they live. Voters can be or will be collected later by interviews. Yes, for the purpose of the database or session definition and the session connection. Now this is used, that is form to be used for adding the new member to the interview panel, that is the family name, first name, telephone, age, area. Now to establish the list of the panel voters, a form template will be needed to record and for transcribing collected information to a table in the database. So to establish the list of the panel's voters, a form template is defined or will be needed to record and for transmitting the required information, collected information to a table. So the collected information will be available in that table for getting the information. So we have to define to create this like a form, like the form tag will be used in the HTML. So can you define, that is what are the various forms that is used for this one? My question is to Larry. Larry, can you tell me how to use this one, or how to print this first line? Which tag is used? Larry, yes, Larry, tell me. So what is the main difference between the header 1 and the header 2? Okay. So in this, in for this we have to use the head H1, H2 or the H3. Okay, H3. All right. And for writing this one, for example, family name, what should I use? Which tag is used for writing this family name? But this is not a listing. There is no 1, 2, 3, 4 that is listing over here. This is just a form. So we have to use the form tag. Form. Okay, so this is the tag that is defined. That is a form action. That is a add.cfm. That means what is the main action? That is adding the values in the CFM. That is a cold fusion markup language. Now, my question is to Larry. How to create this box? Oh no, my question is to Joseph. Now, Joseph, tell me how to create this box. That is a text area. How to create this text area? Are you able to hear me, Joseph? Are you able to hear me, Joseph? Now, Larry, I think that Joseph is not available right now. So, can you tell me, Larry, how this text area will be created or text box will be? Oh, okay, all right. So this is the input tag. That is the family name is given over here. Then input type equals to text. Then name equals to family name. In the same way, these are the multiple tags that is defined for the P. That means the family name, then first name, then telephone number, then age, and we have to define the age between the 18 to the 100. Then input type equals to text, then name equals to age, then P tag will be closed. So, and any doubt in this, Larry? And what about this one? Submit the new panel member. This will be defined by using the input type equals to submit. So this is the button that is created over here. So this is the input type that is equals to the submit, right? Okay. So this is the explanation of this one. So as you see from the line 3 in the template, this is the line 3, that is the form action equals to add.cfm. The form request a template add.cfm when it is submitted for the further processing. The form.cfm template use ordinary HTML tag. So we used only the HTML tag that having the extension that is .htm. However, we use consequently the .cfm extension. That means we are also using the CFM extension. Now the purpose of add.cfm. Now what is the main purpose of the add.cfm? Is to append a new row with the new values to a database. So if I want to define or if I want to insert a new rows in the database with the different values, that is known as the voters, that is defined by the add.cfm. The core in this case is the variable that is application.id that keeps track of the light identification number assigned. And the qualifier that is defined, that is the application, make the variable persistent within the application. In other words, the service will keep the number in mind from the session to the session. So the service will be keep in the mind from the session to the session. Hello, Joseph. Now the tag in the line 2 test is the application have been. Yes, Joseph. How are you? Uh, okay. Uh, okay, all right. So this is defined by the input tag, right? Huh. Hmm. Huh. Yes. This this validation is defined in this one, so we have to give it this one. Here we have to give if the age is above the 1800 or above the 100, then the validation will be carried out. That means the error message will come that the age is above 18. That is not this in this part, that is the coding part that is available with the help of the C sharp or the C language. This is just a front page that is defined over here with the help of CFML, because as the name advice, CFML, that is a cold fusion markup language, and markup languages are also only used for making the web page, not for making the internal coding. Yeah, just to make the web page, not to make any validation, not to make any we can say the hidden coding. Yes, either we use with the C sharp, either use with the JavaScript. So this just give we can say the briefing of the web page, the designing of the web page. Yes, like HTML. That's why the same code are available like the HTML. All right. So next tag is the add.cfm. Then what is the how to add the CFM? So let's take a break right now. Then moves to this part, that is what is the add.cfm tag. So let's take a break first of all. So come back from the break. Now let's start the session again. So this is the add.cfm, that is the add.cfm file that is defined in this one. So the tag that is defined in the line 2 test if the application has been active before and the application ID. So this is the second number that is defined for this one, that is come for the checking ID, or that is come for the checking ID, that is either it is defined on this one. So this is also defined with this application.cid, and that have been not been defined. If not, the variable is defined in the next line, that is variable is defined in this one. If the application is not defined, if it already defined, the control is directly transfer from the line to the line 5. So it is directly transferred to this one, and the value of the identification variable is increased by 1, and that is the first time the identifier variable is assigned the value 1, then next time 2, and so on. That means this is the code that is given. So first of all, it check the condition. What is the main condition? That is CF if, that is the cold fusion if. That means if not is defined, that is application.id is not defined, then set the application ID as a 0. If it is not defined, and if it is defined, then simply go to the application ID, that is application ID number 1. That means it is checking the condition. If it is not defined, then set the application ID as a 0, otherwise set the or give the application ID as a 1. Then CF query. Now what is the query name? That is the add. What is the data source? That is the session.data source. Now insert into voters. What is the voters meaning? That is the voters is the name of the file or name of the database that is defined. Now what are the various fields that is defined over here? That is ID, then family name, then family name, then first name, then telephone, then age, then area, then vote. These are the various values that is defined in the voters file, that is ID, family name, first name, telephone, age, area, vote. Now what are the various values that is defined in this one? So these are the various column name, these are the various values. The first one is the application ID, that is the ID is generated as a 1. If it is not defined, it is 0, otherwise it is 1. So that is stored in ID column. Then family name, that is the name of the family that is defined, then the first name, then telephone, then age, then area. This is the CF query that is closed with this one. This is the CF query that is defined with this one, so we have to close the CF query with this part. Then CF location. So what is the main location of this one? That is the URL equals to form.cfm. That is the location that is defined is the form.cfm. So this template uses in the line 6 the query tag with an insert into statement which specifies the name of the table, voters, and all predefined column names of the table that is following in a parenthesis. So that is defined in the parenthesis, that is the predefined column names of the table. It is extremely important that the list contains column names correctly spelled. That means it is important to that the list contains the column names correctly spelled, that means this is given as a correctly spelled, that is a ID, then family name, first name. So this is not that we are using the first name as a wrong spelling, that is the first name have a R missing, S missing, nothing this. So we have to give the name of the spelling very correct of the voters, that can be correctly spelled. The next attribute is the value. So this is the voter, that is the first one is the insert into the voter, that is defined, or that is we can use as a file. Then what are the various values that is defined in this one, that is the values within the parenthesis that contains all the values which could be saved in the new row of the table. So whenever we are using the new row, whenever we are using this column that is defined with this one, so we are giving the values within the parenthesis. So these are the various values that is defined in this one, that is the application ID, then there is a family name, function name or first name, then telephone, then age, then another output. Yes, my question is to the Joseph and the Larry. I remember one question. Have you got the assignment for the office solution development? Okay, no, you have received the assignment and it is also available on the LMS. Okay, and what about Larry? You got the assignment? Okay, day before yesterday, right? Okay, okay, last class. Okay, all right. So, not too important details. For each specified variable, a value represented by the variable name, each by hash before and after the name. That means for each specified variable, a value is represented by the variable name. What is the main syntax for representing the variable name? That is a hash before and after the name. For example, this one, that is application ID, there is a hash before the application, and after the ID there is a hash. For example, the family name, that is a hash family name is needed. If the variable is a text type, this should be indicated by the single quotes before and after the name, that is this one, right? And for example, family name, as you see, we specify all the values as a text before all the variables for specifies as a text as we define that in the table in the database. The last value is underscore. So this is the last value that is defined in the underscore. The surrounding single quotes tells that there is another text variable and the value of the vote is set to primarily to be dash. That means there are multiple values that is defined over here, that is for the vote, that is a dash, because the person has not been interviewed. So the person is not been interviewed, that a polls will not be taken. After all panel members have been appropriately recorded by means of this form, the polling can start. So after recording this one, the polling can start with this one. So this is the insert statement, how we are going to insert the multiple values, multiple rows, or how we can insert the columns with the multiple values with the help of the query statement. Now next is the select statement, that is how to use the select statement, or what is the meaning of the select statement. Now this says that the Monday morning the telephonic interviews needs the list for calling the planning voters. That means Monday morning, if I'm going to take the opinion, so I want a list of the various opinion pollers, or we can say the voters that can be defined. This list can be retrieved. So how can we retrieve the list? The list can be retrieved by calling the template, that is the list.cfm. So this list.cfm contains all the templates. So this is the list.cfm that is defined with this one, which illustrate the use of the statement select. So that illustrate or that define the statement select. So this is the statement that is defined, that is the select statement. The CF query tag that includes a name equals to list, which will be used below. Now this is the list query, that is the list.cfm that is defined in this one. So this gives a list of the select statement, and the SQL statement select is followed by the list of those variable which are required. So this select statement also gives a value that is required by the student, or that is required by this file that is defined over here. The attribute from specifies from which table, that is the attribute from specifies from which table it is defined, that is the from will be used, that is used to define the tables. Then voters in our application, the variable should be retrieved. That means if I'm using the voters, the variable should be retrieved over here. As for all the SQL statement, the syntax is very strict. Only variable names specified in the name table are accepted. That is, only the variable name is defined in this one, that is accepted with the voter.id. This is the list.cfm. So this is the one of the example. Then cf query name. What is the query name? That is a list. So the query name is a list. So we can define any name with the cf query, that is a name, a list. Then data source equals to hash session dot data source. That is a session dot data source will be defined with the hash. Then select ID, family name, first name, telephone, age, area, from, voter. That means this is the query name that is defined with this one. This is the list that is defined. Then data source is equal to session data source. Then select ID. That means what type of data that is selected over here, that is the ID. Then family name, then first name, then telephone, then age, then area from the voters. So select all these fields from these voters or from the voters table. So that is a select ID, family name, first name, telephone, age, area from the voters. Then CF query will be closed. So this is one of the queries that is defined. So data source, or the we can say the database that is defined is a session dot data source. The name that is defined is a list. Then select the ID, then family name, then first name, then telephone, then age, then area from the voter. That is, select the columns. What are the various columns? That is ID, then family name, then first name, then telephone, then age, area. So these are the various columns that is defined over here from the table voters. Then H2, then font color equals to blue, list of panel voters, that is the font will be closed. That means it will be available in the large big font. Then the table will be created over here. There is a TR, that is the table row. Then there is a TD. In the TD it is defined as in a bold, that is the ID. Then in a bold it is a family name. That means it is defined with the multiple cells, that is defined by the TD. So one is the ID, then there is a family name, then there is a family first name, then there is a telephone, then there is a age, then area. So these are the various TDs that is defined in one row. So this is one row, that is a TR, and these are the various cells. That is the first cell that is defined over here, that is a TR, and then closing of the TR. Then CF output, that is what is the output query, that is a list. Then again the TR, then again TD. Now this is used for specifying the value, because we are using the hash, then ID, then hash. That means it is going to tell you the, or we can say print the ID, that is the value of the ID, then family name, then first name, age, area. This is one of the this is one of the output of this coding. That means list of the panel members, then ID, then family name, first name, telephone, age, area. That is ID is the 1, 11, family name is the Peter, first name is the Smith, then telephone is this one, then age is 23, area is the 1. So this is defined over here. That is the age, family name, and so on. Then TR will be closed, then CF output, then table. That means this is the example of this one. Now in this there are 3 IDs that is defined over here, for example, that is defined in this one. So the content of the column vote is excluded from the listing to avoid the interviewer reminders to panel and so on. The second part of the template contains a tabulation of the list. So the second part contains the tabulation of the list. The table will be created, that the table tag used are well known from the HTML. So this tag, or the table tag, is defined from the HTML, which permits more elaborate table with the background border etc. In this example, we'll keep it as simple as possible. That is, the table is simple, very simple in this example. Note that the result from the CF query can be referred into in the CF output tag by its name, that is the query equals to list. That means the CF query is done with this one, that is defined by the outputs, that is the output, that is the query equals to list. All the retrieved rows are considered as a query object with the name equals to list. That means every IDs or every list is available with the list, or every query is available with the list. And by referring to the attribute query equals to list in the CF output, each retrieved row from the table voters will be listed according to the table specification. That is, every row is retrieved, or every column is retrieved from the table voter, that is listed according to the table specification, and no loops are needed. So there is no loop that is needed over here, that is the table specification. Now figure 4 illustrates the output from this template. So this is one of the template that is defined in this one. Now list for the interviewer. That means this is the list of the panel that is going to tell you about the, or we are calling about the interviewers. Now next is the, we can say the update statement. Then update statement. So we have done with the insert, we have done with the select. So shall I continue with the update statement, or shall I stop the class over here? If this is too much about the insert and the select, it's up to you, Joseph and the Larry. Tell me, shall I continue with the class, or you have any doubts, any queries regarding anything assignment and so on, or shall I continue with the class? Pardon? Okay. So next is the update statement, that is how to update the which we can say the how to update the values that is defined. That is a third step in the process which permits updating of the panel table. For this we use the SQL update statement. So which statement is used? That is the SQL update statement for updating the, yes, we should include the practical class in the tomorrow's, as I said to the Joseph, Larry. We will do the practical of this in the tomorrow's class. So the updating requires that all fields of the update forms are populated. In the fields, family name, first name, telephone, age and area is usually unchanged. A direct use of the insert form used to create the initial table that would require the large amount of unnecessary typing of the redundant information. So whatever the redundant data that is available, that is the typing of the redundant data that is defined with this one. The solution is first to retrieve a list of the IDs and then upload with the changes needed. So whatever the changes that is updated, that is available with the change environment, that is available with the retrieve of the ID, then update with the changes required. What about the past template? Which templates? That is application.cfm templates. Which template you are talking about, Larry? Yes, Larry, tell me. That template is, I think, application.cfm template, right? Okay, so this is, yeah. This is the same as we will do in the next class, that is in that Friday's class, that is tomorrow's class, because that is the same template, that is the same scenario that we are going to do in the practical class. All right. And now the first example, that is a retrieve.cfm, that retrieves the unique ID of the current panel that is showing with panel voters and produces a list with links to the individual row of the table. This is a retrieve.cfm. This is a CF query name equals to retrieve. Now this is a used as a CF query, that is a name equals to retrieve, then data source equals to session.data source, then select the ID. Now only select the column that is ID from the voters. Now this is a CF query that is displayed over here. So this is one of the query, that means only retrieve the ID from the voters. We are going to change the IDs from the voter ID column, that is a P, then H2, then font color blue, then list of the ID for updating, then CF output query equals to retrieve. Now the table will be created. The TD contains the ID that is defined with this one, then TR, then table, then CF output. So this template called the menu is extremely simple. The SQL has a select statement which retrieve only the ID. As I said, this retrieve only the ID from the voters table and tabulates a list of the IDs. The table has a one small fine is, that is the ID are linked in order to retrieve the wanted column. So this is the 11, then this is 12, then this is 13. So there are three IDs that can be retrieved with the help of this query, and with the help of query we are going to give the references, or we are going to give the linking with these IDs, that is 11, 12, 13. How the reference will be created, that is a retrieve do.cfm, that is this one, with the second retrieval, that is a retrieve do.cfm, and this is the query that is defined with the retrieve to. That is a CF query name, that is a retrieve2. This is the data source. Then select the ID, where ID equals to hash ID. That means whenever I click on this 11, this will give all the columns, because retrieve2.cfm or retrieve2.cfm, that is uploaded with this one, that is the retrieve2.cfm, that contains each and every field like this one. They contain each and every column from this one, right? And this is the CF form, that is action equals to update, then retrieve2, then font color blue, then this is the TR tag that is defined with this one. This is again the same for this one, that is the family name Peter, first name, telephone number, age, area, vote. So this is the same at the update form for the IT. Now next is this is the same as this is your homework. You have to do the same when the form has been corrected. The update is statement is a template update.cfm. This is the how to update with this one. Next is the statistical report that I'm going to cover in the next class, that is in the tomorrow's class. That is how to maintain the statistical report. This is one of the important statistical reports for this one. Then next is the delete statement that we will discuss in the tomorrow's class. So next topic that is going to cover in the tomorrow's class is the statistical reports. And you have to do what's your task for today's class. You have to check out with this one whether this is the correct one, how to update this one after referring this one. All right. So that's all for today's session, and if there's any doubts, you can ask the doubts from me regarding the assignment, regarding the any assignment, office solution, anything. All right. So thanks a lot.